be able to talk about a team that actually is probably going to meet the flannel expectation, the
Hey.
Detroit Red Wings. And I know that you already kind of answered this to start the show. I will ask you again. Tonight's a must-win, huh?
Oh, it's I guess technically not the dictionary definition of a must win, but for all intents and purposes, I believe it's a win and you're in, a lose and you're out. And if you
Mm.
win in regulation, if you win in overtime, you're probably still feeling pretty good. But if you win this game in regulation, it would be absolutely huge. And I understand that there would still technically be more work to do. You would then play at Pittsburgh, which is another team that lost in overtime last night, so they got a point. So they're chasing you. But this is a huge win. You've got to get, I would say, this one first, and then two, and then so in total 4-1. So win tonight, win three more, and you can afford to drop one, or you could go 3-1-1. I just this one tonight is absolutely crucial, and I think that they can get it because Washington, they're in a little bit of a tailspin themselves. Guys like Larkin are stepping up, Raymond and Patrick Kane, and then even defensively, I'll give the Red Wings this. Ever since they brought up Simon Edvinsson and Jake Wallman's gotten healthy, this defense is now fully intact, and at least at the top end, they're not so bad because we all know what a Sider can do. Some of those depth pieces like Petrie and Olimata and Ben Sherratt, that's another story for another day. But this team is good enough.
You
It's
know
good
what?
enough.
You just talked about the defense here, and obviously
Yes.
with the Detroit Red Wings, that's probably been their Achilles heel, as well as stretches of good goalie play with
Yeah.
stretches of inconsistent goalie
Yeah.
play. How are you feeling about this team? Kind of the last 4 or 5 games of the season, heading towards the playoffs. How are you feeling about this defense and the goalies? Because we know that if they get hot,
Yeah.
they can carry a team a long way.
Well, the reality is that the Red Wings goaltending situation is not ideal. What they basically have right now at this stage of their careers are three backups, three who you would prefer to be your goaltender too. I will say this though. Alex Lyon in the game against Buffalo. Buffalo outshot Detroit 38-24, but Alex Lyon saved 37 of 38 shots. So he played one of the best games that he's ever played, and maybe that's a sign that he is going to become, at least in this final regular season stretch, that hot goaltender. And as I already said before, Mo Sider, we all know what he can do. He's had a great year. Simon Edvinsson has given this defense a real jolt ever since he's come up from Grand Rapids. Shout out to him. He was that trade deadline move that the Red Wings actually could make because he's been great for this team, and of course Jake Wallman being healthy. You've got some guys who are capable, and lately their defense has been better. It's just there's certain people on the offensive side that need to step up because their defense right now, if they continue to play like this, I think that they can get in given what their offensive upside is.
We saw Pittsburgh, the Penguins last night. They didn't win, but they got to overtime and lost to the Maple Leafs. Correct?
Yes.
So they're one game ahead. They're one game behind. They've played one more game than the Red Wings. The Capitals are right there, and the Flyers. Who do you think of those three teams are maybe the biggest risk to the Red Wings of taking that second wildcard spot?
It's the Penguins because the Red Wings, they play the Penguins on the road. That's going to be a tough one. That is one where you can't say that you'd be surprised if they were to lose because they haven't played well lately, and it is a road game. You know, you still got Sidney Crosby who's still playing well at this stage in his career, which is absolutely crazy. So to me, the Penguins are the biggest threat right now, which is funny because not even a couple weeks ago they were somebody who was like, the Penguins, they're out of it, but they've gotten hot. That's all it takes are a couple of teams like Philadelphia and Washington sputtering, and the Red Wings have sputtered too, and Pittsburgh winning a couple of games, and all of a sudden they might get in. It's insane how much of a logjam that there is at the for both the last spot in the Metropolitan Division and the last spot in the wild card spot. There's basically 5 teams fighting for 2 spots, and hopefully the Red Wings get that wild card spot.
Yeah. Now, how are you feeling about players like Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat?
All right, well,
Because DeBrincat is one that I've seen fans, especially on socials, they are mixed on the type of year he's had. You even brought up kind of the season he's had. He started hot, but kind of tailed off a little bit.
well, that's a different discussion because Patrick Kane I'm cool with. Patrick Kane has given you everything that you could have ever imagined. Just when you look at his numbers, an approximation of even some of the numbers he would put up when he was in his prime. He's given you 43 points in 45 games.
Yep.
Alex DeBrincat, he's actually, believe it or not, he's probably close to the top in terms of my Detroit sports-ish list right now. Because here's the reality.
He's not who's first, Baez or
Well,
DeBrincat?
Obviously Baez is like, I mean, the Pistons front office, Baez, but DeBrincat, here's the problem with him, is that obviously he started the year hot. He was very, very good. He was one of the biggest reasons why the Red Wings had put themselves in the position that they had, where they were playing well. They were 9 points clear of the last wild card spot.
Yeah.
But here's the reality. This is a guy that has scored 40 goals in a season twice. In the last 18 games, the Red Wings have gone 5-11-2, which to me, that's a tailspin. If they continue this is a playoff costing collapse. And in those 18 games, do you know how many goals that Alex DeBrincat has? 1. 1. That's a problem. And I feel like Alex DeBrincat is getting a pass. And I understand for all of you who want to talk about the depth pieces. Yes, Andrew Kopp's not scoring. Compher's not scoring. Sprong was playing so bad that he got benched. Rasmussen is not playing well. Fabry, Veleno, all of those guys have to share some of the blame for not playing up to their caliber as well. But Alex DeBrincat was the man. Alex DeBrincat was your 40-goal scorer. Alex DeBrincat was your prize get, at least in terms of coming into this offseason. And then obviously you got Patrick Kane later. And during this stretch, he is sputtering. And the worst part is Dylan Larkin, ever since he's gotten back, 8 points in 8 games. Raymond in those same 18 games in which Alex DeBrincat has 1 goal and 7 points. Raymond has 12. Kane has 13. Even David Perron has 11. Alex DeBrincat is a guy who has scored 40 goals in a season twice, and for almost a fourth of the season sample size, he's on pace for 4.
Yeah, because in my opinion, it's just like, all right, you have DeBrincat because those other players that you mentioned that will go through their kind of seasonal slumps, he's one of those types of guys that's supposed to help to mitigate those times. And when Dylan Larkin went out, it was shocking to see the performance on the other end of that thing.
That's where I don't want to say, I don't know if I was ever in love, but I kind of fell out of love with Alex DeBrincat as a player a little bit because it made me think that he's more of a, I don't know if he's even a star at that point. And I get it. 40 goals in a season, 40 goals twice in a season is a phenomenal accomplishment. The Red Wings haven't had a guy who's capable of doing that since Marian Hossa. So it's been a while. But apparently they don't have a guy who's capable of doing that now in Alex DeBrincat because right now, even on the totality of the season, he has 24. If he doesn't score again, it will be his not his career low, but it will be his second worst goal output of his entire career. And during that time when Dylan Larkin was out, when they needed someone to step up in the worst way, because we talked about how they had the high-end talent. We talked about how they had the depth. Alex DeBrincat in those 8 games didn't score a single goal, only had 2 assists, and the Red Wings were 2-6. That's not good enough. And if the Red Wings don't make the playoffs, if Alex DeBrincat doesn't turn this around and have a hot stretch for these last 5 games, I am going to ether that man on air. The reason that I'm not going harder is because he does have a chance to right every single wrong. Because if they make the playoffs, I will focus more on the times in which he helped the team at the beginning of the year and they were able to withstand a cold stretch. If this cold stretch is one of the biggest reasons why the Red Wings do not make the playoffs, then he deserves all of the ire that he's going to get from me and from others.
Mate says the cat acting like he's on his 9th life, chilling. Also, Speakeasy says my salsa makes the girls want to dance. Well, shout out to my band from D12.
Hey, my band. Hey, what up, ladies? My name's I'm the lead singer in D12. All right, that was another time.
Those are the days.
Those were the days. Now, just one more thing before we kind of move on to the next segment. I'm seeing the chat right now talk about the head coach, Lalonde. What do you make of that? There's some people who say he needs to be fired. Where do you stand as it relates to his kind of accountability to what we've seen the Red Wings do as they've kind of gone through a cold stretch, almost gave up this kind of wild card hope. Now they're back in it a little bit. Where do you sit with this thing?
God, it's so tough because I have I don't want to make too many bold proclamations because I will be happy if they just make the playoffs, and I will be happy with the whole Iser plan and the whole Lalonde thing, at least for now. If they don't make the playoffs this year, though, and then maybe don't play up to their talent level to start the season next year, Derek Lalonde is absolutely on the hot seat. He absolutely is. When you're collapsing like this, when you're tail spinning like this, a lot of it has to do with coaching. It can't be one of those things where you suffer a couple of injuries in a sport in which a lot of it is based on depth and you just collapse like this. And Derek Lalonde just not getting his players ready, kind of having some interesting line choices and rotations that I don't necessarily agree with. If it all results in a playoff collapsing tailspin, Derek Lalonde, I might even put him on the hot seat going into next year. Maybe that sounds a little bit crazy, but you can't collapse. You can't F your season. I'm sorry. You're not going to F your season consequence-free. I'm not saying that it's already done right now, but there's a lot of people yesterday. I was on BDE. I'm a little bit hot still. Like Neil Rule, it seems like the entirety of the chat are just going to let them F their season with consequence-free, and I'm not down with that. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry.
Own it. Stand on business.
Together.
Come on, bro. You got the flannel on
Yes.
with the deal of the year. Stand on business.
Get it
man.
together,
I like it.
guys. Get it together. Alex DeBrincat, get your head out of your ass. I know I'm in Feldman, and I'm a little bit loud right now, but 1 goal in 18 games while watching the Red Wings completely F themselves is not good enough.
It's not.
But the good news is all they got to do is play well down the stretch, and they will find themselves in, and everything I just said was moot.
Flannel, 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 flannel.